Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Ask Kate. And today we're going to talk about shit. That's right, you heard me right. We're going to talk about. You know, we love to swear. Well, I love to swear. Kate, I feel like Kate swears more when she talks to me. I think everyone.
Totally do.
But she loves to drop the F-bomb. Who doesn't love to drop the F-bomb? Anyway, so poo. We want to talk about poo and. Yeah, just, I guess, digestive issues and poo and how important pooing is. And, you know, prior to me eating like this, I wasn't as regular as I am now. So I go to the, is that a dog?
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Totally. Hang on.
Have you got a new dog?
Nope. Oh, sorry. It's not my dog.
Oh, if you're looking after someone's dog. I was like, maybe.
Yeah, we got to start this. Hang on. Hang on, I'm going to grab him.
No, grab him. Everyone can see. Say hello.
Okay.
Oh, so cute.
This is Paddington. Come here, buddy.
Yeah,
no.
We're talking about poo, Paddington.
Yeah, he pooed earlier today. He does good poo.
Oh, so does Winston every day. Every day I take him for a walk. He's real regular too. But
Dogs
yeah,
are so regular.
Really irregular. Like,
yeah.
And it would be hard. Like, I'd really have to like push it out. But, you know, I would do all the things that the fitness industry would tell me, you know, like I ate the bloody psyllium husk and I packed the green vegetables in and I drank heaps of water and, you know, just about.
You fibered it up.
Yeah, exactly. Fibered it up. So I don't even know where we can start with poo. Well, what were you like before you started eating like this?
Wow, that's a very personal question. I mean, I think because like you and me, we both ate all the things we were told to eat, which were a lot of salads, a lot of fibrous food. I ate a lot of legumes, a lot of beans, a lot of things that basically bacteria feed off of and create digestive upset, especially if your gut's already having some issues. So I certainly was bloated all the time. I probably would go between having loose stool to being constipated. I used to take caffeine pills, probably some psyllium husk, anything that would start moving everything through me quicker because my bowels were not doing it. If I didn't take that stuff, I wouldn't have a bowel movement for a couple of days sometimes. No.
And it's awful. It's an awful feeling. Like
I mean, it is. So I'm sure everybody watching this, although they love hearing about our digestive distress that we used to have, I mean, how it changed and how you can change and make yourself basically have a better bowel movement. I mean, we all should be having a bowel movement at least once a day.
And it's an amazing feeling. And we talk about it all the time. When at life, everyone's posts like, "Oh, I just did the best poo today." You always feel so like it's like you've been cleansed, you know, which is true. It's, I guess,
it is absolutely true.
All of the toxins and the shit basically in your body.
Yeah.
But let's start with, can we start talking about like fiber and indigestible fiber and what it is and why it's not great for your intestines and your bowels and what it does? Because I think people have this idea that fiber is this great thing that helps you poo, but in fact it does the opposite.
Well, it can initially, right? Because usually, I mean, your poo is primarily things like bacteria, some water, bacteria, some fiber, essentially. And so that's what your body's excreting, essentially, when it goes to the bathroom. And when you start to have a lot of digestive distress and you may, you know, where water is not being pulled into the intestinal tracts and you get that dryness or you're constipated or your intestines are inflamed and things aren't moving, then you're not getting rid of the bacteria for one. And then the fiber and everything is staying in there and it's just basically allowing the body to kind of fester off of it. And that's happening in a damaged gut. Now, cellulose essentially is undigestible fiber. Humans can't digest it. Cows can. They have rumens, so they can digest these things. We cannot. However, I don't technically believe cellulose is horrible for you if you have a healthy gut and your things are moving. But when you don't, it's just going to create more distress. So
probably too, Kate, like it's like the excessive amounts of it. So like I think people, you know, like us, we're eating so much of it. Whereas like when your metabolism's good and your digestion's healthy, you know, like I can go and eat some, like I could eat a whole orange or I could eat you know, if I decided to eat some legumes, which I probably wouldn't, you know, like some fiber, it's not going to matter, because your body, it's the amount, I think, too. And if your digestion is good and healthy.
Yeah, well, and when you're in a hypometabolic state, then less energy is provided for things like digestion, right? So when you're in that hypometabolic state, your body's going to provide energy to the things that keep you alive, like your heart, lungs, right? Brain. These things get the energy, things like digestion, hormones, all these other things, they don't really get it as much, so things start slowing down. So that's one part of the problem. So, you know, like I said, so instead of actually looking at the metabolism, what doctors essentially do is they treat the symptom. So it's like, hey, well, you know, because basically fiber can bulk up your poop. And that's why they give it to you. And then they're like, drink a bunch of water. Well, just because you're drinking a lot of water doesn't mean it's getting down to your intestinal area. And, you know, you're basically just probably pissing it all out anyways. It's overloading your bladder, overloading your kidneys, putting more stress on your system. So long-term, that equation is not going to work. So you got to go down to the foundation of why you're having constipation, which essentially is probably that low metabolic rate. 2 is you're eating a bunch of crap that your body can't digest: nuts, seeds, a lot of leafy greens, fibrous foods, skins of fruit and vegetables that your body doesn't like, and you need to get rid of them. Now, I'm not saying you need to get rid of all fibers. We also know that eating the raw carrot fibers from the raw carrot also not digestible, but they're, because they're a root vegetable, are a lot easier on the stomach, or excuse me, on the gut, and they can provide more of an antibiotic-like effect to your system. And combining that with something like coconut oil and a little bit of vinegar, you're basically, as we say, scraping the intestinal walls and cleansing them as you basically start taking things through your system.
And I always say to people, like, think about carrots, like anything that grows in the shade or underground. So like mushrooms, carrots, bamboo shoots, like you put a carrot in the fridge, it doesn't go moldy. It just shrivels up. So it naturally has antibacterial, antifungal properties because it grows in the shade and it grows underground. So it's like people go, oh, that really makes so much sense now.
Right. The leaves, which grow above ground, as we all know, they actually have their own anti-nutrients in there. They're in there to basically protect themselves, to protect themselves from insects and bugs and animals from eating them. So that's why they have all these anti-metabolic or what is the word I'm thinking of here?
Like toxins and...
Thank you. There are toxin effects in the leaves that are basically creating even more distress, because they also have a bunch of polyunsaturated fats in the leafy greens. And that alone is going to start causing some digestive distress.
It's interesting, you know, like because we notice it so much in women, like I see posts all the time in our Facebook group. They're like, oh my God, I've been pooing every day and I just feel so much better, you know, because I guess their body's able to then get rid of all the shit, basically get rid of all the toxins and the waste. And you know,
nobody likes to not go to the bathroom every day. And as soon as you're above probably the age of 20, you start talking to your friends about it, because you don't feel good. You know, if you don't go, you just don't feel good. Now, if you don't go for 2 or 3 days, you really don't feel good. You know, I had a friend that passed from cancer 3 years ago, and when you have cancer, your metabolism is horrible. But your system is essentially eating itself. But she wouldn't go to the bathroom for 10 straight days. And so you can imagine the level of toxicity that was going through the system by not being able to excrete all of this stuff, especially all the drugs that she was on and everything else. So none of that is going to help the system. Of course, you know, to the day she passed, she was eating tons of leafy green vegetables and avoiding sugar and eating lots of nuts and seeds. Now, of course, that didn't cause her cancer, nor did it, but it certainly didn't help the fact that, you know, your digestion and your pooping and your peeing and your sweating, they're all ways for your body to excrete toxicity. And so you want to do it once or a couple times a day. And if you're not, then something's wrong.
It's interesting, like, and I've shared this with you, and people like Craig had that parasite a few years ago. And since then he had to do this like 10 days of like hardcore antibiotics, which got rid of it. But then since then, it's been a real journey to heal his intestines and his guts, basically. And it's to a point where it's good now. You know, he goes to the bathroom every day, but he'd go through periods where he would get really bloated and constipated. And it was really interesting. Like, I could always tell, because his eyes, you could see it in his eyes. He'd get dark circles in his eyes. He'd actually feel anxious. So he'd start to feel anxious. And then when he'd finally go, he would feel better. And it's over time, it's gotten better, and now he's pretty good now. And I think the other interesting thing too that we found was when he was, and I guess he's probably stress and other things, the business, when he was in that sort of, I guess, compromised state, when he would go and do a really heavy training session, like legs, his digestion would always be bad the next day.
Yeah, too much.
Yeah, too much. The stress would, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's so interesting. And then now he's good, like he'll train and he's fine. But it's just, I think, when people are healing, it's like you need to keep that in mind, like any sort of exercise. And I've noticed it with clients too, who've come in with that. And I noticed it with a lot of like real lean clients, like I used to be, where they would diet the fuck out of themselves. So they, like got really lean, but their metabolism was just shot. Digestion was bad, no period. Then as they're sort of putting on a bit of body fat and the metabolism's getting better, their digestion would improve and the pooing would improve, but then they'd go into a heavy session and it would go backwards. So it's like they'd have to really sort of dial it back. And then as things got better and their metabolism got better, because obviously it's just a stress, I think that's why like so many of these diet programs are so bad, because, not all of them, like there's some good ones, but their metabolism's already stressed, their digestion's already wrecked, and then they go and get them to train 6 days a week and eat all these green vegetables and nuts and seeds, and they just get worse and worse and worse. Like they never actually repair and build that foundation, which takes a long time, can take a long time.
Yeah. I mean, usually, again, if you've been dieting and eating a bunch of crap for a long period of time, your digestion's probably a wreck. And, and I did the same thing when I was really super lean, and then I would even diet down to get even leaner. Yeah. I mean, you are not going to the bathroom very often. And that's when you start taking things to facilitate movement, but they were usually just pushing my body even more sympathetic nervous system, to the point that it starts affecting my sleep and everything else. But I was super lean. Right. Mm-hmm. But again, I think we need to like focus on, if you are in a state of constipation and you're not going to the bathroom, and that is an issue, and it is an issue, it is something that you need to initially focus on, which, like I said, is going to be a combination of removing all those foods that are really hard to digest, which are a lot of the foods that are told that are healthy for you. Again, those nuts and seeds, and the nuts and seeds have a high amounts of polyunsaturated fats in them, which we know, inhibit trypsin inhibitors in the gut. They're going to inhibit protein digestion, and they're going to essentially affect the digestion of your food, which can create bacterial overgrowth and a whole lot of other issues. So you got to get rid of those. You got to get rid of the liquid oils. You got to get rid of anything with the polyunsaturated fats, plus those hard to digest food, especially the leaves. And that includes things like spinach, kale, chard, lettuce, unless, again, I mean, if you love those foods, then, cook them well, because they do have some good nutritional foundation in them. You usually can get those with other foods, but, if you want to get a good dose of vitamin K, have your leafy greens, but you need to cook the crap out of them and eat them with the fat, because the fat's going to help you digest them better.
I think too, like I say to women as well, like starches, I find if they lower starches as well, because that can feed gut bacteria, they'll start to improve. And I'm like, it's not forever. You have to remember this is not forever. Once you heal and your digestion is better and your metabolism's good, you can then start to, put some sourdough back in, or add some more rice or some potato, and you'll probably be fine. So I think it's always like, it's a temporary state for however long, I don't know, because obviously they will heal at different rates. But I think it's important to go like, look, it's not going to be forever. Like for most people, I find.
Yeah. And I think everybody has their limits. Some people need to completely avoid those foods for a while. Some people are okay on those foods with well-cooked starches. Yeah. Some people can't. And I think another thing that I love to make sure that and talk to people about, because it's such a simple thing to do, but in today's world, nobody does it. It's chew your food.
Yeah.
Because nobody chews their food anymore, right? And so the enzymes in your mouth are very important, especially for starch breakdown, because you don't produce those enzymes anywhere else. So the amylase enzymes, if you don't let that food sit in your mouth and let it do its part and you just swallow it, then you're going to have all this undigested food trying to digest in your gut with not the right enzymes. So slow down. chew your food. And I mean, and I even say this to people because, you know, I certainly preach a lot of liquid foods, whether it's milk, whether it's juice. If you are having digestive issues, then you need to either drink that food with a straw and swish it around in your mouth before you swallow it, like not just gulping gallons of milk, because you're missing a part of the digestive process.
I think it's probably just, it's just life, isn't it? Everyone's so stressed and busy and rushing, and it's just another.
Yeah, you don't eat. Nobody eats. I mean, if someone's having digestion, go, how fast do you eat? And they'll be like, oh, I ate driving here, right? Eat my thing in 5 minutes. I'm like, okay. So they're alone. If you just chew your food and slow down, that's gonna create, you know, it's gonna solve a lot of your problems. I mean, not to say there's not other things, but that alone, I know it's so easy, but nobody wants to do that. They're like, oh, you know, I'm like, it's essential. You got to chew.
And you got to give it time. You got to, like you say, if your metabolism isn't great, it's going to take time to increase it, and eating the right foods. You know, I don't think it's not an overnight fix. It's all of a sudden you're going to poo. You know, obviously you can do all the right things, but it's just going to often take time, and give it the time. Like, don't, you know, I think some people are like, oh, fuck, no, I've got to go. And you want to go back to your old ways because it gave you that instant relief, but it's not, like you say, actually fixing the problem. It's just treating the symptom.
Yeah, and I am a big believer that you should go every day. And so sometimes if you need to take something to help facilitate that, like if you are taking a bunch of things right now to help yourself go to the bathroom, don't stop all those immediately, right? Now, I would suggest there's other things that are better, right? And I'm sure you probably, I mean, if you're going to take something like a cascara sagrada, a natural good cascara sagrada can help facilitate going and eliminating. Adding some additional magnesium can help facilitate you going to the bathroom. So those are like easy things you can do if you need to take something, because I would definitely recommend going to the bathroom every day if you need something, and then slowly taper off of them as you get better.
But it's going to take time. Just give it time, everyone.
What Kate's trying to say is that this is not a quick fix.
Yeah. Like we always say. But all good things, you know, the path of least resistance always ends in more pain down the track, always, every single time.
That is a deep, deep, deep saying.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. True. And I think if you can just do hard things and stick with hard things, you'll just win all the time. Every time down the track, you'll pat yourself on the back and you just get used to it, I think. You know, but I used to be the same. I used to just drink and take drugs and, you know, just do, I just want to do.
And that does actually help facilitate the bowels.
True. Don't do that. Don't go and snort cocaine. It's not good. Yeah.
Yeah, you will go quick. But that's just, yeah, I mean, just because something helps you go does not mean it's good for you, you know? Yeah. And there are a lot of things out there that will help you go to the bathroom quicker, but are not good for you. So there are other options. And again, you know, it's always do the least amount that's going to help facilitate you going to the bathroom. And so if you have to take something, take a little magnesium, take some cascara sagrada, the minimum amount, while you're working on improving gut health, removing the foods that your body doesn't like, all the indigestible foods, adding in digestible foods, that can be the juices, cooked fruits, remove the skins, tropical fruits. I mean, the healthy sugars. I mean, that's what your body needs to help improve metabolic rate. So that should be a good part of the diet to help facilitate the metabolism and everything increasing, so that your digestive system is actually getting energy to do the work it needs to be doing. Because, you know, we all know if you are in fight or flight and running from a bear, the last thing your body is going to do is take a crap.
Totally.
Unless you're right on that urge and you're so scared, and you might, yeah. Or the reverse can happen.
Well, that was awesome. I always love to talk about a good poo. And I've got to run because we've got our week team meeting. But thanks again, Kate. Everyone, hope you all enjoy a good big poo today, because it really is one of the simple pleasures in life that everyone should enjoy. And I'll see you again. I'll see you again next week.
All right, Kate.
Okay.
All right. Katie.
Bye.
Oh,
Bye.
Bye.